This is AC to C, Araceli and Colette, the Dynamic Change. And I'm here with my partner, Colette. So my name is Araceli, and I'm a transition wealth advisor. And I love helping single professional women to rearrange their finances so they can get their debt paid quicker, they can get ahead and retire faster. So Colette, can you introduce yourself?
I love that. I want to retire faster.
Yes, everybody does.
Not really. I don't think I ever want to retire because I love what I do. So I am Colette Rabba. I am a real estate broker in the GTA West. I help all sorts of clients find the home of their dreams, and I love it in the process. And help more than just, it's not just a transaction for me. There's a lot going on. There's so many different moving parts when you buy or sell a property. So that's why Araceli and I love to do this show, because we have so much information to give and so much love to give. And
Yes.
we want to share it with all of you because we know knowledge is power. And we really want to empower you either when you're buying or selling or with your finances or everything in between. So please send us your questions. We love to answer them. And even if you want to be a guest on the show,
Yeah.
you can do that too.
Please let us know. That's excellent. Great idea. And as you know, Colette and I are both real estate investors, and we really like to show you some of our experience and some of the things that we have learned along the way. This journey, because it's a fantastic journey. I love being an investor. It's challenging, and also it just keeps you on your toes all the time. So
Yeah. And it's not
today,
for everybody. Like
no,
that's
it's
the
not for everybody. And that's exactly why we want to share this with you, because some people, they will like to do it. They like the idea, they like the sound of it. But sometimes you really have to understand yourself and see if this is for you, just like anything else, right?
yes.
And so today we're going to talk about some of the terms that we see coming up. And we had actually two more videos about this with lots and lots of terms that you hear all the time in the real estate world or in the finance world. And we just want to give you some idea what it means to you, right? Not only what it means, but what it means to you. So,
Yeah.
Colette, you want to get started?
Yes. Okay. So I have a little presentation. The other thing too, like with, why we share terms like this is because when we really have, um, let's say, sorry, I'm not going to talk and share my screen at the same time because I can't do two things at once. So let me see, where's my presentation? Let's do that first. So what I was going to say was, I don't know why it closed. But let's just see. Here it is. Okay. Can you see that? Can you see my
Mm-hmm.
screen? Okay. So the one thing, what honestly, even though I've had my real estate license for 8 years now, it's almost 9. Anyway, so I had to remember there for a minute. Even though I've had my license for so long, I really went into real estate knowing very little about terms and about what's possible and options. And for the first, I remember really the first year was all about learning and just, soaking up everything that I could possibly learn. And yes, of course, I have my own life experience with purchasing throughout my life and helping other people purchase and sell their real estate. But when it comes to terms and options, this is something that you have to be in the trenches. You have to know what things are, how you can really So for me, I'm representing my client. It's about that client and about what I can do to keep you safe, to keep them knowing what's going on. There are so many agents that they just, I don't want to say anything bad, but I've been on the other side of the table with lots of agents that really, unfortunately, don't represent their clients in the right way, in the best way. So, anyway, I just want to.
Yeah, but you know, Kurt, that happens with all the industries when
Yes,
it comes down to finding the specific terms. Every single industry has lots of acronyms, lots of things that get used every single day, and that everybody knows that is working in that
right.
industry. When I was an engineer, the same. Sometimes I remember a few times that I went into a meeting in a new company that I started working, and everybody started that, and I was like, you could understand the English worlds, but
Right,
when it comes down to the terms, like at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what are they talking about? So when I
right,
went in and started to see, oh, okay, that means this, but every single industry has it. The same with finances, the same with
right.
real estate,
Well,
engineering, architecture, everything,
yeah,
right?
the thing, and Araceli and I talk about this all the time, that there's so much information. We are in this information age where we have everything at our fingertips with this wonderful World Wide Web. But if you don't know what you're looking for, how do you get the guidance? If you don't know, so let's get started, shall we? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is something that, oh, real estate terms, part three, how they can help you. So, so real estate terms first. I want to just go to the second thing, which is called holdback. People really don't even know what this is or if it's even possible and what it means and how does it keep you safe as a buyer. So this is something that I'm going to get to, but these are the terms. If you don't know what to type in into Google or whichever search engine you're using to search what you need, you won't even know about that this something very specific like this even exists. So first, let's do something very simple, because I do get this question quite often from my clients, which is, what's the difference between closing? Because on that agreement of purchase and sale, it might say completion date. It might not say closing date. It'll say completion
Mm.
date or possession date. And what does this all mean? So generally speaking, the completion date is the date that you close the transaction and title will transfer from the seller to the buyer. That's also your closing date. That's a term that we use. Uh, when the funds are transferred that day and the keys are exchanged, that's the closing or completion. Possession means it doesn't actually mean that you've moved in yet. Possession is about you. And when that comes into play is when, because you can move. Let's say you have a sale and you're selling your place and you're buying your place and it's not on the same day. So if you're moving out of your place and you have purchased your place but you want to renovate it first, you don't have to take possession. But when this takes when this term is usually with condos, because condos, if you have a possession date, that means, like, especially with a new condo build, a possession date, it might be different than a closing date because the builder can't allow you to live there until the condo corporation is all set and they have their rules with the condo corporation and the city. So possession date is a little bit different in a case like that. So always, if you are buying a new build from a developer, make sure you know what a possession date is versus a closing or a completion date. So saying that, hold back on closing. This is very interesting. I love this. I didn't even know about it until I had to use it myself on my own deal, which is, let's say so in this case, I'm the buyer. Let's say I buy a property and I have conditions on our agreement between the buyer and the seller. The condition is to make sure that the roof is new. I get a new roof, for example, or any of the conditions that you put in there. If I show up on the day of closing or the day before closing, and I obviously see that the roof is not new, they forgot or they just said, "Huh, what's she gonna do? What's she gonna do now? We're closed. Too bad."
Mm-hmm.
So that holdback, you should talk to your lawyer before closing, because if those conditions weren't met, then you can hold back money to say, hey, that's a $10,000 roof or whatever the number is going to be, depending on what the condition is. To say, hey, I'm not closing, forget it. I want a new roof. That's part of the deal. So you can do two things. You can either say, no, I'm not going to close, which of course you want to close. Like, why wouldn't you want to close?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, your other option is to hold back money. So if I say, hey, lawyer, hold back $10,000 on closing because they didn't meet that condition, you as the owner, as the new owner, as the buyer, have to instruct your lawyer. Some lawyers won't even tell you that's possible. Some lawyers don't like doing it. Yes, of course it costs money with your lawyer to do it, but would you rather spend whatever a few $100s on the lawyer doing that holdback
Mm-hmm.
or to get a new roof? So that's the crazy thing about this holdback. I get so excited about it because I love it. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, people have to know that this exists.
Yeah.
And a lot of on it again, a lot of lawyers don't like doing it because then you're opening yourself up to liability. But for sure, you want to close. As long as you close on time and most of the money goes to the seller,
Mhm.
you're still holding back that money that we agreed to.
Yeah. And then we're just talking about accountability, right? Because the majority of the times when you are actually selling and buying, there is in good faith that they're going to be doing it. And it could be several circumstances of why this thing didn't get done. Maybe they couldn't find the roofer that they wanted, or it was booked, or it wasn't available. But if they're in communication with you, I think they shouldn't have a problem for you holding that money back in order for you to get this thing
Well,
done. It's just
and
kind of like a warranty kind of thing. If you don't do it, at least
okay,
I have the
so
money to do it myself, right?
yes, and I was using a roof as an analogy, but honestly, when this comes into play these days is with tenants. So if you say, so this is called vacant possession, maybe that's another term that we have to write down for next time. But vacant possession means that tenant is, let's say it's a tenant, the tenant is gone and all the tenant's stuff is gone.
Hmm.
So if there is stuff left in the house that, let's say the tenant leaves it a big mess and destroys things and all that stuff. So when it comes to vacant possession, this is when a holdback really comes into play, because even though you close the property and money has exchanged hands, it's still up to the seller to remedy the vacant possession, get the tenants out, get their stuff out, and then it can be a big nightmare and lots of bad things can happen. But when you have a something called a holdback, this is the other thing too. Did you know that you could write a holdback clause in the agreement if things don't happen? So these are things that an average agent doesn't know. I'm sorry to say it, but this is something that if you really, I never write in the holdback clause, but I tell my lawyers if I need it, let's do it. Let's play that game, because you have to have leverage. Whatever side you're on, if you don't have leverage with that other party to get things what you really want, as in this case, you're the buyer, you want the leverage at all times until closing, until you have those keys in your hand, right? So, okay,
Absolutely. So I like that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this is basically the value that you get for having an experienced agent that can help you with all of these little things that don't happen all the time, but they have to know that it's a possibility, right?
right. And I, like, not that I really want trouble.
No, no. This is not about trouble, but this is giving a
That,
good service to your
right,
client, right?
right. It's about supporting that client to say, listen, I'm 100% on your side. I'm here to protect you way
Yeah.
along the way. Like
And
it's
these
not,
are options, right? To make sure
yeah,
that everything goes well in during the
right.
transaction.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so let's do you investment terms.
Okay, so well, this is more than financial terms than investment terms. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about net worth. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about much, right? Because they say, well, I don't have a lot of things. Um, but it is more about the concept of what it means and what it actually could mean to you in the long term. Because mostly when you are starting, you don't have a lot of assets, and by assets I mean you have a property, you have a car, even though a car is a depreciated asset but it still has value.
Yeah,
You may have a boat, you may have some investments already, RSPs, or your children's education plan, some life insurance, and so on, right?
yeah,
And but the point of the whole thing here is that you understand what it actually means to you in the long term. If you tally up all the stuff that you have, and let's say you're starting and you don't have a lot, and maybe you're just saving $100 in your RSP, then those $100 are still your assets, right?
right.
And then you have to go into the other side, which is understanding your liabilities. And the liabilities could be you have a student loan, or maybe you have a mortgage. a line of credit that has a balance, credit cards, and all of this, when you add it all up, is the difference. So your assets minus your liabilities will give you your net worth. And that is basically the money that you can take with you after you sell. If you sell everything and if you liquidate everything, this is what money you have left. And when I work with my clients, I concentrate on them working, towards increasing their net worth, because that is the true measurement of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So don't really dismiss anything, because a lot of people there get surprised. Oh, I have that much. Yes, you do. Right. And if you don't, then you need to understand what assets you have and how you can reduce the liability, section. So that I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up because it's very, very important to know.
Well, and I also like, when we talk about net worth, it's a goal. So it doesn't, even though we do the show about income properties and really thinking about real estate, you don't have to, even watching this show, it's not about real estate. It's about knowing what you can do with your money as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
to have these financial terms, to understand them wherever you are in your life. Like it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a student, you don't have to be 90 years old to think about your net worth. So when it comes to you having a goal, this could be a very simple goal to say, okay, you know what, I really like my net worth to be $1 million by the time I retire.
Yeah.
Or whatever your number is, it has nothing to do with anybody else. It has nothing to do with where you are in life. If that's a goal that you set for yourself to say, okay, I really like this, I want to do this, how can I do it? This is what Araceli does. Like, this is what she gets excited about. I get
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Making all that, and even if you think that you don't have a lot, the exercise of putting this together, it will give you so much light, right?
yeah,
What you could do, what you haven't done, and what you can change.
just to know
So
where you are. Like, that's, anything in life is, I'm here and I want to get here. How do I do it? And
absolutely. So that's basically the
it.
score. And I really recommend that if you don't have it, you can Google how to do a network statement, or you can contact me and I can help you with it. Uh, but it is worth for you to do it.
Maybe we should do a show just on that.
Yeah. And
Just to say, this is,
just
don't
to
be
explain
scared.
what goes where, how to do it, and what it means to you. But that's basically the end of it. Like, this is just a very short description of what it is, but I really recommend that you take a look at that in your life, whether you're a real estate investor or not. And if you are a real estate investor, how it that would affect as well, right?
Yeah.
So
All right. So FICO,
okay.
I thought FICO score is American.
It is, and the reason that I put it in there because it's used a lot here in Canada as well, and I think just because we have so much access or so much
Knowledge. Yeah. Yeah.
knowledge or across the board kind of things, commercials and everything. So if you see this on like on a blog or on an article or anything about FICO scores. FICO
I
score
remember.
works really basically the same that ours. And basically FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. That's the acronym, right? And
Okay.
this is the company that came up with the methodology to calculating the credit score. And there's lots and lots of things that go into it, and I can go into just a few things, right?
Sorry, I have a question.
So yeah,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question. So because we're in Canada and this company doesn't do FICO score, who does the credit score for you? Who calculates the credit score in Canada?
Yeah, the main two companies that do that is Equifax and TransUnion here in Canada. So either one of those. And one thing that I wanted to point out is that the Equifax score for you here in Canada is not going to be the same than TransUnion. Don't know why. I think they have a slightly different calculation, right? But in short of it, what you really want to concentrate on is to uh, the things. I'm just going to give you a list of the things that really those are the main factors that affect your credit score is
Okay.
your payment history. Anything loans that you have acquired or regular payments like your cell phone, that is very, very important. Sometimes people say, well, it's like $70, $80. I'll pay next month. I don't have this or I forgot it. Keep your
There's
cell phone payment just like your credit card payment,
Well, that's
right?
it. There's so many easy ways to just have the automatic payment, especially if you know. I don't
Exactly.
like doing an automatic payment for things that fluctuate, like my credit card. Uh,
Absolutely.
but things like a phone or like your utilities, you're not going to go and call the utility company and fight them. Hey, my bill's like $5 more expensive.
Exactly.
Just have that automatic payment go through,
Yeah.
and this goes back to
And
knowing
then
your
you can avoid all of these things because people don't think that that will affect them, but it will in the long term.
right.
So that
So
is your payment history in general. Also the usage of your credit card versus availability. Normally they don't like you to use more than 30%. So if you have a credit card that is $1,000 available credit, maximum would be $300 and so on. You know what I mean?
wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. So let's say that now you have three credit cards, right? And all of them are $10,000. But you have two credit cards that have no payment, so it's zero balance. But
Right.
the main credit card that you use is used at $8,000. That will create a lower score, a credit score, that if you have like 2,000, 2,000, and 3,000.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, because they I don't know why, it's just the formula that they use. So
Yeah. Well,
the
but
other
for
thing, yeah.
somebody, sorry, but for somebody like me, so if I have three credit cards, let's say one I use for my business, one I use for home, and one I
Mhm,
use for my cottage, let's say. So
mhm.
if I separate those three things, but I don't have to buy anything for my cottage, then how do I show some kind of payment every month? So, like that's
No, you don't have to have a balance. What
oh,
I'm saying to
yeah,
you is that if you have, uh, you use one credit card a lot more and is using more than 30% of the available credit on that particular credit card, that's when
right,
you kind of start getting penalized. You don't have to use it if you don't have to, because you only do it, from
right,
time to time. As long as you pay it, when you use it, you pay it. It's
right.
all good. But it's
Uh-huh.
just about the range of how much credit you use in that particular credit card.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
another question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, so when people say, okay, so let's say I have a credit card that the balance, or sorry, the my max is they give me $2,000 on the credit card.
Yeah.
Is it better for me? And I don't ever go over to the $2,000, but is it better for me to increase that amount and not use the amount, or should I just keep it at the $2,000 and it's fine? Like, is there a calculation for that?
Well, no, it depends on your usage, right? Um, Everybody has to understand themselves and how they manage their money on a personal basis, right? If you like to pay everything with a credit card, then you have to see, okay, so if I'm going to make all my payments with my credit card, maybe because you have points, maybe because it's more convenient, all
Sure.
right? I don't know how you manage that situation, right? But if you do that, then you have to make sure that you pay that every month. And if that is enough money, enough credit to kind of make the payments that you need to
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
And now if it's going over, like let's say that you have a $2,000 credit card, now
Yeah.
your expenses are 3,000, and
Right.
you say, well, I'm still paying it, right? Then
Yeah.
I would recommend in that case to call the bank and I
Okay.
said, can you increase my credit? And they will look at your credit history. And if you're being with them long enough, they're going to say, okay, it's okay. And usually the bank gives you this offers every so often, right? They
Right.
look at your credit history, how much you use, and they normally, if they see that you're paying and paying on time and keeping a good credit range, right?
Right.
Uh, they will offer you, okay, we can increase it from like 2,000 to 5,000, right? And
Sure.
sometimes the only thing you have to do is accept the offer. But obviously you have to really know how to manage your credit. It's not about getting it, but also know how to manage it and
Of
continue to
course.
go down, right?
So would
So
it be better to increase your limit or get a whole different credit card?
I would say you can increase it if you have a good like
Sure.
interest rate.
Yeah. No,
You can increase
no.
it. However, from time to time, other companies they come up with like zero interest for 6 months or 1 year.
Sure.
So in that case, it might be worth it to get it if you don't have that many credit cards, right?
Yeah. What's
Because
a good number of
also,
credit cards?
uh, how many what?
How many credit cards do you suggest people have?
It depends on your particular situation. And for normal people, I would say you have two credit cards or some kind of lines of credit, maybe something like that. That is more than enough, right?
Yeah.
Just in case you go to the store and oh, my card didn't go through, so you have another option. But if you have a business, you may want to separate it and put that into a different card so you can tally up everything on your
Right.
statement and
I
it's easier, right?
I think you should honestly, I'm not an accountant. I think this is an accounting question. But for me, I have a different credit card for every business that I own.
There you go. That's
I,
it's
I
easy for you, right?
yeah, I don't, and my accountant likes it that way. So if I say, hey, listen, all the stuff on this credit card goes to this,
Hmm.
or this is all business for this business, then it makes it so much easier for them too. So
Yeah,
and
it's a
right,
matter of organizing
right,
your finances. I use several credit cards, and for different businesses that I have, it depends on what I'm doing. But because of the accounting type that I do, it gets separated, so
yeah,
it doesn't really matter. So
yeah,
that's it. It's all about how you're going to manage it, because at the end of the day, this is your finances, right?
yeah.
And if
And the
you're
bigger your
combining
company,
them,
right, and the bigger your company or the bigger your
of
expenses are,
course.
you really have to. It's very difficult sometimes to keep track of everything on a month to month
Yeah.
basis, especially at the end of the year where you're like, oh my gosh, now I have 12 months of like, depending on
That's
what kind
right.
of bookkeeping you do, to say, okay,
Exactly.
for the whole year and I have to deal with all this. I can't remember what I did in January, if this was a business expense or if it was a personal expense.
Yeah.
So really think about
That's
it.
why it is very, it's the best practice is to have a credit card for personal and a credit card for business, because you know that if you go, let's say to Costco, it's you can buy a printer, which is actually for your business, or you
Right.
can buy groceries, which is for personal,
Yeah.
right?
And keep that receipt separate too when you're at the
Exactly.
cash. Yeah, that's accounting. That's a whole other show.
That
So
exactly.
I
So
think people
the
understand the credit score situation. What's a good credit score?
Well, okay, so let me finish the factors that involve in calculating your credit score. I have three more. So the length of your credit. So that means if you open an account a year ago, they only have 12 months of payment history. But if you have this account for 10 years, they have a huge range of payments that you've made, and they've
Right.
seen a trend in you particular as a person of how you manage your finances. If you continuously are late paying, they know that out of the 10 or 20 months that they've been rating you, that 50% of them you were late. So that now then your score starts to come down because they have a huge history of how you behave, right? So that's one, the length of it, and then public records as well. Like make sure that you always check your credit score at least once a year to make sure that there is nothing there that is that you've never applied for a loan or anything that does not belong in there.
Right.
And then the last one is the number of inquiries that you're doing on your credit under the year. Usually, if you're, let's say, applying for a mortgage, we recommend that you go to a mortgage broker, because then they will do one credit check. However, if you go to the bank, they have to do a credit check. But if you didn't like them and then you want to check another bank, they will have to do another credit check. And then those two are hits. They call it a hit, right? And
Right.
every time you have so many of them,
Yeah.
the system or the way that they manage it or whatever they do, it thinks that you're actually looking for more credit everywhere,
Right.
and there might be something wrong.
And that
So,
happens a lot with tenants looking for apartments, because
yep,
what happens is every landlord will go and do a pull and pull your credit and see what your credit's like. So what I suggest to tenants is do that first. Have it with you when you go and see the apartment if you like it, or the house,
yeah,
whatever.
is this the
Have
best
it,
way to do it? Because if you pull your own credit score, it will not take any hits, right?
right,
Because
right,
you are pulling it just because you want to know what it is.
right. Yeah.
And to answer your question, what are the ranges? In Canada, we manage a range of 300 to 900. So you could fall anywhere in between, right? And I
Wow.
really urge you to look at what your credit score is, because especially if you are going to be applying for a mortgage, for a loan, for anything, maybe to rent an apartment, that
Right.
will make a big difference.
Yeah.
So the ranges would be if you go from 300 to 574, that's a very poor or non-existent credit. That doesn't mean it's bad. It
No,
means that you don't have
you don't have a credit
enough
card. You don't
credit.
students, if is, that's what I tell my kids. When you get to a point where you're in college or university, get a
Yeah,
credit card, buy a pack of gum once a month and pay it off right away. As long as you're using it and they're taking some history,
yep,
that's what you should do. People new to Canada too, they come into Canada,
exactly.
have no credit because there's no trace of them yet. So as soon as people come into Canada, to get that credit card to say, okay, this is what, I have a place to live now in Canada. I know what
Exactly.
to do. You get one credit card, you start building that credit history, and it can help you in the long run. Even if you don't have to do anything for 5 or 10 years, you have to start somewhere.
Exactly. And the more history you show, then your score will start to continue to go up. So
Yeah.
that is between 300 and 574. So somebody starting 575 to 659 is below average. So you have room for improvement. Then 660 to 712 is fair. So if you're going to go apply for a mortgage, the minimum that they ask you, I believe, is 660, which is the fair, 660 to 712.
Yeah, I
I
believe that.
remember this will mean that you may get approved, but if you could qualify for a 2%, now your interest will be 3%, right? Because, they just want to make sure that you're
You're
going to
correct.
pay, right?
Sure.
So that is fair. And 713 to 740 would be a good score. So that's where most people would like to be. And 741 to 900, that is an excellent. That's where you want to keep yourself in, by making consistent payments on time, right? And that you keep your credit card for a long time.
Right. Yes, very important. So I know a company that I really like, and it's free. If you want to see your own personal credit score, you don't have to pay Equifax, or you don't have to pay anybody to find out what your credit score is. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you like these guys. It's creditkarma.ca. So
Mm-hmm.
it's REDIT,
Mm-hmm.
all one word, KARMA.ca. I get an email, I believe, once a month to say, hey, you want to look at your credit score? Here you go. So you just have to log in and you can see. And even sometimes it fluctuates month to month.
Mm-hmm.
If I forget a payment for a credit card, or if I'm a little bit late on a credit card, even just one, my
Yeah.
credit score could be affected. So it does fluctuate a little bit, not crazy, but
Yeah.
it's also good to check, because if you think that your identity is stolen, or there's something on your credit score that you don't remember, let's say there is a missed payment for a car lease 5 years ago, and you're like, I never leased a car, you can call Equifax, or you can call the credit company to say, hey, listen, this is not correct. How do I take it off? So, or how do I, dispute it? How do I get it off? Because that you might not even know. Sometimes on your credit, there's something there that, let's say you went through a divorce
Mm-hmm.
and you shared a credit card with your spouse. What happens? How do you get that person off of your credit score? How do you not combine? A lot of marriages, a lot of people have a combined credit card, even with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
If your kid goes off to university or something, and you say, "Here you go, here's a credit card," but your name is on it, and they decide not to pay something,
Mm-hmm.
credit could really be affected by things like that. So really think about it before you give your kids a credit card.
Exactly. So it's very important to make sure that if you have a joint credit card,
Yes.
to kind of record it, make sure that you know which credit card is joined with your spouse, your kids, or anybody else, because that could affect you in the long term if for some reason you're no longer with them and you forgot about it. So make sure that you get yourself off of it if the relationship is broken and you're not going to see this person again.
Yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to tell you, there is a lot of uh, free credit score checkers, kind of thing like this Credit Karma, and
Okay.
they are good. The only caveat with this is that the score is not exactly perfect. This is kind of just take it as information only. It's never going to be exactly the same score that is going to be at Equifax or TransUnion. So when you're actually going to be applying for uh, you know, an actual mortgage, they will have to go to TransUnion or to Equifax to get the actual score. And it might not be the same. So to me, being on a safe side, always try to go, okay, so if I'm going to apply, my score might be a little bit lower than what Credit Karma is showing me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why I always recommend you, it's for free. Equifax will give you your credit score once a year if you request it.
Yeah.
So why not do it? Because that's the company basically that it is in Canada, and that it all the mortgage brokers
Right.
and anybody that is going to be checking your score will go to.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think the secondary things like Credit Karma, they do take the information from Equifax, but like I said before, it fluctuates all the time.
yeah,
So you do go, if you do go and apply for a mortgage or a car loan or things like that, that number will change. So you can't say, oh well, my credit score from Credit Karma is this,
yeah.
because they're pulling it directly from Equifax.
Exactly. That's
So
what I wanted to clarify, that it's
that's
not the same. The other thing as well is you can also get your score, your credit score through the banks. I've had it like I have Royal Bank and Scotiabank, and both of them actually you can check your credit score right there when you log in into your accounts.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know about other banks. This is the two banks that I have, and both of them have it, which is actually really good.
Wow.
So if you don't want to go directly to Equifax, the same Equifax has a service that you can hire monthly to monitor your activity, but that is optional. I would say that there's lots of little things that you could do on a regular basis to monitor your credit score. But at least to me, once a year would be kind of the thing to do for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So are we done? Can I go to the next thing?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's it. It's just a thank you for watching. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
and if you want
share.
clarification, further explanation on any of these terms or any specific term that you want to see that we haven't talked about it yet, please let us know. We're happy to elaborate.
Yeah, no, and I think that's really, when it comes to terms and when do you need them and when do you need to know them, that's really up to you. If we're here to help you and understand how, how things can help you in the long run, getting to your goal of your financial freedom or house buying or income property buying. So really, like this is why we do the show.
Yeah, this is
So
great.
yeah,
Well, thank you, Colette, for giving us a little bit more of those excellent terms. And we will see you next week. Please continue to send us all your questions and what you want to know. We're here for that. Okay? See
yay!
you next week,
All right,
guys.
thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.